Hello friends! You're on the Last Days channel. Thank you so much for your engagement and support. And so, a review of events for July 23rd. Uruguay. At least 2,000 dead Magellanic penguins have been dumped on the coast of Uruguay over the past 10 days. No signs of bird flu have been found in the animals. The penguins were mostly juveniles that died in the Atlantic. They were carried by the current to a beach in Uruguay. The head of the Fauna Division of the Environment Ministry said 90% of the penguins had no fat reserves, indicating their young age. This number of dead penguins is unprecedented. Earlier it was reported that at least 55 whales had beached themselves in Scotland. They were found on the Isle of Lewis. The mammals followed the female, who was seriously ill, so she threw herself on land. Greece. Forest fires on the island of Rhodes in Greece continue for the 5th day in a row. The fire approached the village of Kyatari and engulfed 3 hotels where tourists were staying. Rescue services evacuated people on Coast Guard boats. People are trying to leave the dangerous places in time if possible. The fires started on Tuesday, and strong winds are only increasing the spread of the fire. Specialists have been trying to stop it for the 5th day, but the fire keeps breaking out with renewed vigor. A group of firefighters tried to persuade the nuns to leave the monastery, but they were blocked in there along with the fire chief. This fire in Rhodes is the strongest in the history of Greece. There are 173 firefighters, 10-foot teams, 35 vehicles, 5 helicopters and 3 airplanes involved in extinguishing it. Unbearable heat has been in the country for 2 weeks, and according to forecasters, it will only intensify in the next 3 days. Up to 45 degrees Celsius and below 15% humidity are expected. The shores of Taiwan. A major accident occurred on the shores of Taiwan. A Palau-flagged cargo ship, Angel, sank off the island's coast, leaving containers afloat. The ship belonged to the International Port Corporation, which manages the operation of Kaohsiung Port. When the ship began to take on water and lurch to its left side, the Port Corporation attempted to salvage it, but all efforts were in vain. As a result of the accident, many containers from the ship fell into the sea, jeopardizing the safety of the environment. The Coast Guard was informed of the accident and assisted in evacuating 19 crew members, one of whom was injured and taken to hospital. The shipowner was informed of the obligation to submit a wreckage and oil recovery plan in accordance with commercial law. The Port Authority closed the entrance to prevent further pollution. An investigation into the causes of the accident is underway, and all the circumstances of the accident are being clarified. El Salvador. Earthquake with magnitude 6.8 points was recorded on the coast of El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua in Central America and the Pacific Ocean. The tremors occurred 66 kilometers south of El Espina Beach at a depth of 51 kilometers. There is no tsunami threat to El Salvador. The earthquake that shook El Salvador was registered at 18:15 local time. The Environment Ministry's observatory recorded a total of 104 aftershocks. According to authorities, 28 of the 104 tremors recorded this morning were felt. Morocco. Flooding has hit Morocco, inundating thousands of homes and washing away many cars on the streets of Marrakesh. Thunderstorms were accompanied by heavy rain that hit many parts of the city. Many roads and cars were flooded in the center of the Malay district of Brahim, and traffic between Marrakesh and Malabrahim was paralyzed. Meteorologists have issued an orange weather warning of a risk of thunderstorms and a high probability of heavy downpours that will last until midnight. Authorities are urging residents to remain vigilant and follow safety instructions. Moscow. In one of Moscow's shopping centers there was a terrible incident: a pipe with hot water burst. Eyewitnesses say that visitors were boiled alive. According to the latest information, at least 70 people were scalded with boiling water, and 4 died. The incident occurred in the shopping center Seasons on Kutuzovsky Avenue. This is reported by the media and employees of the Ministry of Emergency Situations, who evacuated people blocked on the floor of the building flooded with boiling water, including both employees of stores and visitors to the shopping center. At the moment, the evacuees are receiving medical assistance on the spot. Now the emergency services are working. There is information that a hot water pipe also burst in one of the premium food supermarkets, and the building was de-energized due to the threat of electrocution. However, the administration of the shopping center denies the pipe burst and refuses to evacuate people. The victims say that they only learned about the incident from the news in the investigative committee. A criminal case has been initiated over the deaths of people. Bangkok, Thailand. Flooding hit Bangkok on Sunday morning after a long and heavy rainfall. Several neighborhoods were flooded and Ratchadapasek Street was the most affected. Some roads remained flooded and were waiting for the water to be diverted. Several areas in the Chattachak neighborhood were also flooded. The flood water level rose by about 20 centimeters. People who had dined and drank in restaurants in the evening found it difficult to return to their homes. Motorcyclists were forced to park their vehicles under flyovers as driving in the pouring rain was fraught with the risk of accidents. Ratchadapasek Road was the most affected, where the floodwater level rose to nearly 50 centimeters. Some cars and motorcycles stalled as their engines were flooded. Throughout the night, rescuers provided assistance to flood-affected people. Guatemala. The Fuego volcano located in Guatemala has started a new eruption, causing large columns of ash and lava flows. There is no information about casualties yet, but authorities are preparing for the worst. The volcano's flow has already traveled about 2 kilometers. Scientists have warned that the lava flow will flow from the crater as long as the volcano is active. The eruption began at dawn and caused an exodus of pyroclastic flows in the Sines and Trinidad canyons. Ash has descended on several towns, notably San Pedro and Pacapa Sangred, Cristo, Santo Sofia, and El Porvenir. According to authorities, the cloud formed by the pyroclastic flows may cause ash fallout. There are no reports of casualties yet. Authorities urged locals to take precautions and be prepared to evacuate if necessary. Fuego volcano is the most active in Guatemala and in general in Central America. Gujarat, India. Due to heavy rains, the city of Junagadh in Gujarat was flooded and hundreds of people were affected. Cars and other vehicles floated like toys, and torrents of water swept away everything in their path, including livestock. Between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Saturday, 300 millimeters of rain fell on Junagadh, causing the city's roads to go underwater. Authorities brought in excavators for rescue work to help stranded people. In a video taken at Raj Lakshmi Park in Junagadh, a man can be seen trying to cling onto a floating car, fighting for his life. In another video footage, a herd of buffaloes can be seen being carried away by a torrent of water in Motobok district. In the Dal area from steam on the northern outskirts of Jonghad, people were stranded on the Jonghad-Rajgad highway as floods inundated a major portion of the highway. This bad weather has caused a lot of pain and suffering to the people of Junagadh town and its surrounding areas. But people continue to struggle and help each other to overcome the effects of the floods. China. We continue to monitor the situation in China. Powerful Typhoon Talim has swept across the southeastern coast of China, causing the evacuation of nearly 230,000 people. Hundreds of flights and trains were cancelled, and local authorities closed dozens of coastal tourist spots and recalled more than 3,000 fishing boats to shore. The first typhoon hit Guangdong province, where wind speeds reached nearly 140 km per hour on Friday night. It then moved on to neighboring Guangxi province before heading towards Vietnam, having already weakened. When it reached the coast, it brought storm surges and heavy rains, affecting the south coast from Guangdong to Hainan provinces. Meteorological authorities issued the second highest level warning in a 4-level coding system in anticipation of the typhoon's arrival. The Hong Kong Observatory warned of possible flooding in low-lying areas due to the storm surge, and suspended ferry and most bus services in the city. According to the Hong Kong Airport Authority, more than 1,000 travelers were affected by flight cancellations and delays in 27 districts and counties in Chongqing. Heavy rains were recorded, with maximum rainfall reaching 100 millimeters in an hour. Firefighters cleared roads of debris and rescued people stuck in their cars due to fallen tree branches. Los Angeles, USA. In the middle of the last century, a huge dump of barrels of a carcinogenic and dangerous poison known as DDT was discovered off the coast of the United States. The company was irresponsible in its disposal of hazardous substances, including the Montrose Chemical Corporation of California in Los Angeles dumping many different hazardous substances into the ocean, but perhaps the most infamous was the dumping of barrels of DDT. Recent studies have shown that a layer of the toxic chemical persists on the seafloor off the coast of Los Angeles. Scientists are concerned that the contaminant could rise to the surface. DDT was first developed in the 1940s for use as an insecticide, including the prevention of diseases such as malaria, typhoid, and other insect-borne illnesses. During its years of production, Montrose dumped a lot of toxic waste through sewer pipes. In fact, 1,700 tons of harmful compounds ended up in the water this way. Decades later, the barrels were rediscovered after a long period of neglect. Sampling showed that DDT showed no signs of decay, retaining its most potent and most dangerous form of influence. This substance can have extremely negative effects on marine life. This was partly described in a 2020 study. At that time, it was found that nearly a quarter of 400 wild California sea lions had cancer. In humans, the substance has been linked to the occurrence of seizures, liver damage, infertility, and cancer. Colorado Springs. A heavy downpour with hail has hit the American city of Colorado Springs. A third of the country is experiencing various weather anomalies, with lingering heat waves in the south and southwest, while thunderstorms are on the way in the central states. Heavy downpours are also affecting the East Coast. Earlier, rains with hail and winds of almost 100 kilometers per hour damaged the states of Missouri, Illinois, and Kentucky. Canada. In the Canadian province of Nova Scotia, there was a major natural disaster. The heaviest heavy rain in the last 50 years caused floods that led to huge damage. According to authorities, at least 4 people, including 2 children, went missing during the rain. In just 24 hours, the province received as much rainfall as it normally receives in 3 months. The floods washed away several roads, weakened bridges, and flooded homes. Nova Scotia's premier said at least 7 bridges will have to be completely replaced. A state of emergency has been declared in Halifax, the province's largest city, with similar warnings in place in 4 other regions of the same province. Halifax municipal authorities reported significant damage to the city's roads and infrastructure, with local residents urged to stay indoors and not use cars for several hours. The downpour also led to power outages, with more than 80,000 people without light. Bhutan, South Asia. Bhutan has experienced terrible flooding and landslides that caused heavy rains. According to authorities, at least 7 people have died and 16 others are missing. Rescue and search teams have been dispatched to the scene, as well as the country's prime minister, who is assessing the situation and directing the work. One part of the Yungdachu hydroelectric power plant was washed away, but the main part was not damaged. The state broadcaster said 7 bodies have been recovered so far and another 16 are missing. Bhutan is located between China and India and has only 750,000 people. Such tragedies are relatively rare. Kazakhstan. A road crossing for passenger cars on a section of dirt road in Shambulak was eroded due to mudflow, which occurred as a result of intense and prolonged precipitation at the Kumul gauging station at the mouth of the Bolshaya and Malaya Almatinka river basins. According to the data of the caseload protection staff, the flow rate of the mudflow was 7 cubic meters per second in the basins of the rivers Oksai and Kargali. No mudflows were detected. Water is currently flowing unimpeded. Emergency Situations Ministry unit has been transferred to a reinforced mode of work. Employees monitor the water level in the rivers. There are no casualties and injuries.